Hello, everyone, and welcome to Petite to Queen's Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm your host, Lynn, and today I'm joined by our special guest, Kim Zanger. And we're going to be talking about toxic ingredients, how bad they are, and why you should avoid them. All right. So, most of us want to live better, healthier lives. Avoiding and removing harmful toxins is an important piece of this puzzle. And if you get a ton of value in this episode, I would love to invite you to subscribe because it costs nothing to subscribe. Now, Kim is known as Non Tox Nana, and she's with Pure Haven. She's been working with toxin free personal and home care products for the last 11 years. And she's also really an advocate, helping others, helping you find out why it's important to avoid toxic ingredients in your products. Kim has had allergies most of her life, and she needs to be careful about what scents and chemicals she's around. And there are a lot of you just like her. And frankly, no one should be around toxic chemicals. She wants a safe environment for her family and everyone else by identifying and using safe products. Kim loves solving problems, whether you're dealing with itchy skin or having trouble sleeping. She wants to help you get the relief without the harmful toxins. So, Kim, welcome to the show. I am so glad to have you here today. Um, just thrilled to be here.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. I love the opportunity to share what I've learned with other people.
Well, and this is going to be great. You've given us some backstory about the fact that you've had allergies. Your most of your life, you have to be around careful things. But is that sort of like that? What got you into really finding the toxin free products? I'd love to hear a little bit about that journey.
There's a couple things. My first allergy diagnosis, I was 8 years old, and it turned out my first allergy was aspirin. So I've always had to avoid medications. And over the years, errors have been made. I've been given medication that had aspirin and dealt with the results, and it's pretty darn scary. But as time went on, I developed additional allergies and then asthma. So that is often allergy induced, including bleach. So if I walk into a bathroom that has been cleaned with bleach, I can have an asthma attack. So I do have to be careful. And then I became a grandma, which is part of the non tox nana portion. When I became a grandma, it even brought it to a new level of how I wanted things safe for my grandkids. I wanted to make sure that any products I'm using on them or even cleaning products around my house that they're safe and they're not going to do something to hurt the kids. And then I wanted to start sharing with other people. So that was about 11 years ago. I started sharing with other people.
Wow. Well, that's really intriguing. And I love how you tied that in with what matters to you most in the sense of your family. And, let's just get dive right into this, the meat of this. How bad are toxic ingredients and why should we be avoiding them?
Well, it's pretty scary actually. So, we tend to go to the store, we have for years, and just buy what's on the shelf and assume it's safe. And over the years, you hear a lot about what you're eating. So people think about what they're eating. Should we buy organic? And they think more about what they eat. And they also think about exercising to stay in shape. But what people overlook is what they're breathing in and what's going on their skin is affecting their health. So anything on your skin, you smile because we've had this conversation. Anything on your skin goes right into your bloodstream in about 30 seconds. So, what goes in. Skin is actually your biggest organ. So, we need to look at what's being absorbed in the bloodstream. I think a perfect example is the baby shampoo I used when my daughter was little. Some of the things when they say no more tears, that's because they're putting a drug in there to numb their eyes. It's
Oh,
not because it doesn't really cause tears. There's drugs, and those are they have some side effects. So there's also a statistics I think get people attention is women. An average woman is exposed to 168 chemicals before she even leaves her house in the morning. Yeah. And a lot of those ingredients are linked to cancer, Alzheimer's, infertility. That was one that really got my attention, and endocrine disruption. So let's talk about what we can do, but why it's so overwhelming for people. You
Yeah.
know, you look and you say, okay, I use shampoo, I use face wash, I use toothpaste. Those are all things we need to look at. And that's one reason that I really like working with people and helping them get there and look at what they're using. And maybe if they're having a problem, where we can start first to deal with that problem.
Yeah. Well, it sounds pretty overwhelming that if you just go into Target or Walgreens or whatever else, you're going to be picking up things that have all kinds of different ingredients. And I know that because you've mentioned this before to me, just the key thing like fragrance is if a lot of things will say that they've added fragrance, but that doesn't even, you don't even know what that means. So it sounds, it seems like this can feel overwhelming. So how do you get really started to avoid these toxic ingredients? How do you even recognize them
Well,
on the label?
it is overwhelming, and labels are misleading. For example, you can go in and find a deodorant that really isn't safe for your system with the ribbon on it saying I support American Cancer Society, and that's what it means. They made a donation. It does not mean that product is safe. You need to turn over and look at the label. So let's talk about what some of the things are, the big things that you want to look for. Number one, fragrance. It hides over 3,200 different chemicals. So you could buy something this week that doesn't irritate your body, go back in a few weeks, buy the same thing, and if the ingredients are not the same. But that's legal. It is perfectly permissible for people to manufacture and put all these chemicals under that one title. They don't tell you what's in there. So for somebody with allergies, that's really important, but really it should be important for everybody. Some of the main things to avoid are parabens, phthalates, triclosan, and SLS or sodium lauryl sulfate.
Wow.
Parabens are used as preservatives and they're derived from petroleum. So think about that. You want oil all over your body. Phthalates are just one of many chemicals legally hidden under fragrance that's linked to birth defects, breast cancer, diabetes, obesity, autism, ADHD. Triclosan, that's another one, especially after COVID. How many of us, everybody's reaching for hand sanitizer and it's an antibacterial. It interferes with the thyroid hormone metabolism and is an endocrine disruptor. Children exposed at an early age have an increased chance of allergies, asthma, and eczema. None of those do we want to deal with.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea where all my allergies came from. I did have a dad that was a smoker. I'm sure that didn't help me with asthma. But I'm old enough that there wasn't much knowledge about that. And then the other one you want to look is sodium lauryl sulfate, also labeled as SLS. That creates suds. For all of you that love that really sudsy shampoo and the sudsy dish soap, it eats away at skin protection and causes rashes and infections. It can penetrate young children's eyes, prevent them from developing properly. It can also lead to cataracts. So these are just simple ingredients that people use every day. That's a real common ingredient in shampoo that you want to watch for. You don't want parabens in your shampoo either. So that's what gets so overwhelming for people. So I try to help people. If you say to me, for example, I love this one lip balm, we're going to look at the ingredients and we can say, hey, that's not so good for you. So let's look at what the options are. There are safer options out there. It takes quite a bit of work if you really want to do it right. Or in my case, I work with Pure Haven because they do it for me. They've already made the products, they've taken that stuff out. The ingredients and the sub ingredients are all double checked. They have to sign an affidavit. And I know when they make it, it's not bad. So that could take one stress out of my life. And people are so incredibly busy. They don't really want to walk down the, I don't even walk down the aisle with the laundry detergent. They don't want to walk down there. One, I don't like to try to even breathe in that aisle. But who wants to stand there and read the packages? Or in my case, bring your glasses so you can read all the labels, because I really can't shop without them anymore. Not that anybody should. So that's where I want to help people. And the other thing I like to do, Lynn, is when somebody comes to me who talked about the toddler. I had a dad meet me for coffee and say, "Hey, I don't know what to do. She's just itching like crazy. Where do we start?" I said, you're in your clothing or in your sheets 24 hours a day for the most part.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about your laundry detergent stays in fabric? So, let's look at what's in laundry detergent so that we can see if that works. But I always like to start with just one thing, not give him six different things to try at once, because, you can't, if you don't isolate what you're doing, you can't tell what works.
Yeah. No,
So,
I am so in that with the laundry detergent. If I'm going to travel and I'm going to be somewhere where I'm going to need to do laundry for some, I actually travel with my laundry detergent because it's that important. And because it's just, I can tell immediately if something's been washed without it. It's just, um, I don't
I
know.
do, yeah, if it's bleached, I will actually break out.
Oh, yeah,
So,
it's just one of those things, and for everyone who's listening, I mean, there's different things for every person and what you can
absolutely.
do. So I think that sort of, and you really covered it. It can feel truly, um, like a challenge to avoid toxic ingredients, and first of all, even recognizing the things that you went through, if they're toxic, and what that means and what's the level of it. And I would think that with all the different products you could actually be compounding it, because they're on top of one
Oh,
another.
absolutely.
So, but I'm sort of projecting my thoughts onto this, so I'd love to hear from you, the expert, because you've touched on it, why avoiding these toxic ingredients is such a challenge, um, for the people who are really looking to live that better, healthier life.
Well, just start with your day. Okay, you're going to go take a shower. You have to think about your soap, think about your shampoo, think about your deodorant, think about any lotions or oils that you put on afterwards. The options are all there. It can be easy, but if you have to read every label, that can be hard. But now you're clean, you want to clean your house. One of the most toxic things out there is a well known brand of window cleaner. It's horrible. So you're spraying it in the air, everybody in there is breathing it. Or, maybe you have a dog that licks windows, or there are some kids that get pretty experimental. So let's keep that off the windows for the little ones that are trying new things. Let's just go clean in the first place. The laundry detergent, cleansers, there's healthy options for that. Surface cleaner, that's going to be a big one, because whatever you put on that counter, that can come in contact with food and with people, because
Right.
people always have their hands on the counter. We always do. We're visiting with somebody or we're eating, even though we keep our hands in our lap, right, for manners, but um, they're always on the counter. So think about what's going on the countertops and look at healthy household items. Um, and it's just easier. It's, as I mentioned earlier, so much easier for me to just know what I order is safe.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does sound like, all this work, it can really hold people back, in the sense of really diving into finding, um, products that where they can avoid the toxic ingredients. I mean, just from what you said, it just, and I can sort of anticipate why people would be sort of like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. So what's your solution for how people can really get started with avoiding toxic ingredients?
Well, I buy most of my products from the company I work for, and I like, start simple. Start by changing your deodorant. Start by changing laundry products. Now, first off, never use dryer sheets. Get rid of those dryer sheets. Those are horrible. And there's a lot of new laundry sheets that are out now people think are really easy. Yeah, I did a comparison, looked at all the ingredients. The ones I looked at were just terrifying. So I don't recommend those. You can read and see. Maybe there's one out there I haven't found yet, but I haven't found one that's safe. Um, skincare, skincare products, face wash, soap, but take it in steps. Don't feel like you have to go to the store and, back up a dump truck to your house. Do it in steps so you can feel confident that what you're getting really works for you. I think that's another thing people they go and they want to go buy everything and be careful about the labeling in the store because it'll say organic and it's only 10%. There's things they do to mislead you, and I'm happy to help anybody um, go through that and decide, what's the best way for them. And the other thing you can do shampoo and conditioner, and then another thing also makeup. People need to really think about what's on your skin that goes on there every day. And especially teenagers,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, don't let them go in there and buy everything they can find at the less expensive stores or even the expensive stores. Young girls don't need moisturizer, they get carried away, they buy a lot of stuff. And I'm happy to help with the kids too, so they don't go and don't get them all those perfumes. I mean, there's just so much that yeah, we're fighting what
Yeah.
they see on TikTok. It's not where you get good health advice for teenage skincare.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I hear you there.
one worries me
Uh,
just a little bit.
but I did like what one of the things you mentioned. I actually have been using dryer balls for just years.
Mhm.
And once again, I recently traveled and we were doing we actually did um, a house rental, and I brought my own laundry detergent, of course, besides, your personal products, but I brought laundry detergent
Mhm.
and I brought dryer balls because I've used dryer balls just forever. You put those in and they work great. And I don't have to
They
worry about static, and I'm not
right, they
putting any
shorten your drying
perfumes
time.
or chemicals into my clothes. So very simple.
And Earth Day is coming, and I know there's some companies put dryer balls on sale for Earth Day, so this is a good time to get them. I have one word of caution
Okay.
because I have a Labrador.
Okay.
So those little dryer balls look a lot like tennis balls. Just be really careful when you take your stuff out of the dryer that you get those before your Labrador does.
That's a really good point. I actually always just leave mine in the dryer. If for any reason a ball comes out, I immediately, find it, and get it. I just keep the two in the dryer at all times. But yeah, that's a good point. They do look like dog toys.
Yeah, my husband took the clothes out of the dryer one day and didn't realize I'd used the dryer balls, and didn't hurt him. He did destroy one of them, but he didn't actually eat it. The dog's okay. I do have a very ambitious dog for looking for things that he can chew up.
Well, yeah, well, because it's the same with these removing toxins from pets and how to work on that as well. Because it's not just, as you said, for yourself, your family, your home, but for your pets as well. Um, you know, so we've really covered a lot of ground here and talked about how people can recognize it, what they should be looking for, how they can avoid toxic ingredients. But I have to say, is there anything you wish that I'd asked you today that I haven't?
Lynn, I have a favorite. I have an absolute favorite product I just have to share because, as I mentioned, I developed an allergy to aspirin at 8 years old.
Wow.
So, no painkillers, can't take anything. So, when I found Pure Haven and I found our little headache stick, also as a migraine sufferer, this has changed me because I just carry this thing and I get a headache. I rub it on my temples. Life is slowed down for 4 or 5 minutes and I'm back in the game. So This is the one I just absolutely love and I like to tell everybody. And I think it really depends on where you're at and what your needs are. And for me, that was a huge one, huge, because it used to put me in bed for up to 3 days.
Oh,
So, what a game changer for me. So,
it certainly would be. Gosh,
yeah.
that's amazing. And I really appreciate your sharing something that has really been transformative for your life, so that people can learn about that. And I want to just thank you, Kim, so much for sharing, um, and talking about toxic ingredients, how bad they are, and why we should avoid them. I know that our listeners are going to want to know more about you and how they can connect with you, or and find out just more about this whole topic of toxic ingredients.
I'd love to help everybody. There's a real desire in me to investigate everything. I just have, if you tell me you have a skin issue, I'm going to try to figure out what's causing that, how we can help you. And it brings me great joy when I get phone calls from people that say, wow, I fought this on my skin for 10 years and literally she had results with one of our products within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And that just, like a friend of mine said today, she just gets giddy when she gets these calls. She's so happy when she can help somebody. And it's been a long journey for me. And I want to shorten that journey for other people. So probably
Well,
the easiest place to start is, you want my website, or
yeah, sure. Absolutely.
it's really simple. nontoxnana.com.
All right. And I have dropped that in the chat for everyone.
Thank you.
So that is one click away if you would like, to learn more and get those toxins out of your life. I want to thank everyone who tuned in today. I really feel that this is such an important conversation and an awareness piece for everyone who's here. And Kim, thank you so much for sharing, all of this information. There was a lot here, and I really encourage you to go on and add, to the posts with some of the additional information you covered, during the conversation, because I know that our listeners want to have that. So thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate your being here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, because I think there's such an educational process and I love the opportunity to reach more people. That's always my goal, is to get out and help more people learn the easier way to be healthier.
All right, there we go. Okay, so we are